Hey everybody, Tim Boyle. So I'm the founding principal of Science Leadership Academy Middle School. Been a teacher and principal in the district for the last 16 years. And I am the principal of the only SLA that hasn't had horrible facilities problems. Um, but I've been there with my friends for the whole time. A little more context, I've worked in buildings that have had like wildly unacceptable levels of friable asbestos. I've worked in schools that took over other buildings because that building closed. I've worked in schools that took kids from other schools because that building closed. And I opened the second newest building in the district. Did a fair amount of redesign work with kids and families on these projects. So that's kind of the perspective I'm bringing for you all. I imagine you might be having conversations with friends and families and neighbors and strangers about this election. And I think school facilities specifically and schools in general is a really way to connect with people that you know or that you don't know. Um, and I want to really quickly tell a story from 100 years ago that I think is really helpful for you all when you're talking with folks about what's at stake. So between 1918 and 1937, the president of the school board hired his kid, Irwin T. Catherine, and they built 104 schools, 34 of them replacements. They added 26 wings to different schools, and they improved another 50. So in less than 20 years, we did almost 200 school improvement projects in this city. And when we did those things, they were introducing new technologies like gas lit lamps in Tinder schools. And I thought, oh, the stuff that we're using to build buildings is kind of really dangerous. And they didn't really do anything about it till the original Girls High building caught on fire. And then they decided they should listen to people and build with steel and concrete. And in building these new buildings, we introduced radical concepts like indoor bathrooms, cafeterias at every single school, play yards, and garden space on roofs. And what's really powerful about this from a historical standpoint is we use almost every single school that was built 100 years ago. So when you're talking to people, you're in a neighborhood that probably has a school that was built around 1926, when we decided we needed more, we needed newer, and we had some challenges that we had to address. Um, and we did it, right? Like 100 schools in less than 20 years. We could do that again right now. There's one candidate for mayor that actually has a plan to address this that is at the scope that is necessary. I know like I'm a first time caller, long time listener to the Reclaim folks. But like for folks who follow me on Twitter, like ad nauseum, I will write like the plan is 5 to 10 schools a year for 5 to 10 years is the minimum investment that we need to actually change things around. And we're at this really interesting intersection of a massive public works project around schools, talks to families who have their kids about to start school or who are in school, talks to folks who have union labor jobs that would get hired by schools or adjacent to those kind of professions. Higher education is very much involved in this issue. And business is very much involved in this issue, is that if you go on the school district website, and I'll throw that link in the chat, by the school district's own admission, most schools right now are not educationally sustainable. And that's a metric that they paid people to visit every single classroom in the school district to look at and say, can you do modern learning here? And most schools show up in the red or bad category. Less than 25% of schools in the district currently meet educational sustainability assessment scores by the district's own volition. So I wanted to share that with you all. I could talk about this all day. I have 5 minutes. So anything else people would want to know, I think knocking on someone's door and asking, are they happy with the state of their kid's school? And do they know which candidate could help change that trajectory for the kids that we have in school right now and for the next generation coming up is one of the most accessible, low bar of entry conversations that anyone can have. that's backed up by an actual plan from a candidate right now and a real historical perspective in the city that we all live in. Thanks for your time, everybody. As soon as I can figure out how to hit the enter button, I will throw that link in the chat. Oh, there we go. And if you forget the story, that's not me like actually knowing stuff. That's me like reading an article and telling you all about it. So here's the Hidden City article where all of those factoids are from, should you want to digest that later.
Awesome.